of the Climate Catalyst Mentorship Program. In a partnership with Youth for Capacity and Youth for Climate, hosted by YTG. YTG is a youth-led organization that works in a MENA region that serves lots of fields such as education, entrepreneurship, Today's session is a Green Skills Bootcamp, Technicals and Specialized Group. It's going to be Technical and Specialized Green Skills. The second one, 9th September, Growth and Leadership Green Skills. The third one, 16th September, Digital Skills, Digital Green Skills. The fourth and the last is the 23rd September, Future Green Skills for Emerging Industries. And for today's sessions, we do have our speaker, Abdulrahman. He is the co-founder of Youth in Green Egypt. And for your note, these sessions are going to be super interactive. We are going to learn together as youth how we will be together in the green skills and also the green transitions. So stay tuned and join us with all the enthusiasm in this word. Abdulrahman, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lina. Thank you so much for the introduction, and welcome again, everyone, to the Green Skills Bootcamp brought to you by Youth for Capacity and Youth for Climate as part of the Climate Catalyst Mentorship Program. As Lina thankfully mentioned, my name is Abdulrahman Fahmi. I'm a mechanical engineer by education, and I'm one of the co-founders of Youth in Green, and I will be with you today in the Green Skills Bootcamp with the technical and specialized green skills. So today's agenda, we are going to cover 5 main areas. We are going to dive into renewable energy, circular economy, agriculture, water management, and green infrastructure. It will help us understand the ecosystem around us when it comes to green industries and green economies, and what kind of skill set we have to know as potential employees and workforce of the present and the future. Let us start by the renewable energy, and we are going to dive more deeper also into the different topics of renewable energy: solar energy, wind energy, bioenergy, and hydro energy. So as you may all know, there is different types of solar energy. One, or the most famous one, is the photovoltaics, and we are going also to explain the science behind photovoltaics and the latest trends in photovoltaics technology. Additional to this type, there is also the solar water heaters that maybe also you see on the rooftops of your houses or neighboring houses, which is also another renewable energy source. The third one, which is also the concentrated solar power, this is also a different type of energy harvesting. Usually the photovoltaics is more harvesting the photons from the radiation. Here in the concentrated solar power, we are speaking more about the heat energy from the sun rays itself. And similar to that, and the last type that we are going also to talk about today, is the parabolic troughs, or also the it's another type of concentrated solar power that heats a certain fluid. Sometimes it's treated water, sometimes it's another fluids, and from that we can also harvest energy. It's very important to understand at this moment the science behind the renewable energy in general, or the solar energy in specific. If we are speaking about the photovoltaics, as I mentioned, it is the solar cells that we all see in the different solar panels is composed of semiconducting material that once the photons of the radiation falls on, it creates a flow of electrons, which normally generates electricity. This type of electricity generated is direct current, which is usually can feed batteries, can feed our devices, but it cannot be transported easily, or it cannot feed homes directly. That's why there is usually and inverters to change the direct current into alternating currents. Okay, the latest technologies right now in the PV is very high in efficiency. So lab testing of photovoltaics reached up to 47%. However, in the commercial solar panels, we are speaking about 24 to 25% of efficiency. So that also tells us that there is a lot of areas of improvement in the future to increase the efficiency of those panels. Okay, some also technical advancements that some of the manufacturers started to use some organic materials to create the photocells, which is also more environmental friendly, and it supports the end of life recyclability of these panels. Of course, you have also seen that there is some flexible applications. In the past, it used to be very rigid, solid panel. Now it can be also flexible and it can take different shapes. And of course, there is also some transparent modules that, for example, it could be installed on the windshields or the transparent wind glasses, and it can also harvest the sun at the same time. And the latest actually technology among them all is the heat and electricity capture, both capturing electricity and heat. So this is when it comes to the photovoltaic. There is also some associated disadvantages that we have to think about. Of course, it's very sensitive to rising temperature. So remember at the beginning, we spoke about that there is two types of harvesting solar energy. We can harvest heat energy through the concentrated solar power or the solar water heaters. And this is focused on heating a certain fluid. Sometimes it can be water, sometimes it can be another specific fluid. However, in the photovoltaics, which harvest the photons and the radiation and transform it into electricity, it's very sensitive to temperature. If the temperature is high, efficiency drops significantly. Of course, still the photovoltaics and the solar technology is high in capital cost. And of course, there is the daytime effectiveness. At night, we cannot get any input from this type of energy. And the end of life and the recycling of the panels is still very complicated because of the complexity of the materials inside. Something to think about here, and the functional units that you have. The functional unit, we will be speaking about each module. I will be telling you the functional unit. And the functional unit, I mean the unit that you, or the measure that you have to focus on if you are working in the renewable energy, or if you want to consider working in the renewable energy, or installing a renewable energy or solar energy in your neighborhood, community, whatever. Here we have 4 functional units we have to think about when we are speaking about solar energy. Number 1 is the strength of the radiation. Is it strong, weak? How does it look like? This will determine what kind of solar panel you can use in a certain area. Of course, also the cloud cover. The cloud cover impacts significantly the efficiency of photovoltaics and also the solar thermal heaters. Of course, the temperature, as we mentioned, the temperature also helps significantly in increasing or decreasing the efficiency. And one key functional unit that you have also to focus on is the cost of producing electricity out of renewable energy. Years ago, and in my home country in Egypt, it was very expensive to generate electricity from solar energy. And on the other side, it was very cheap to get electricity from fossil origins or from the grid in general. By time, the electricity bills kept on increasing until at a certain point, it became more feasible for you to use solar energy rather to buy from the fossil fuels sources. And this is actually one of the core functional units, the cost of producing electricity in certain countries and the cost of selling electricity as well. This identifies whether the solar energy will be suitable for a certain place or not, depending, of course, on the cost of producing of electricity. Now, in Egypt, it's 2 to 3 cents per kilowatt hour. That's the cost of solar energy produced electricity. Moving from the solar energy, we have also the second source, which is the wind energy. It's a little bit sophisticated, but also can give us 24 hours output. And if we are speaking about the science behind it, why we are speaking about the science? Because you, as a green skilled worker or specialist, although you not necessarily are going to work in all of these industries, but you have to have the basic information about each of them in order for you to be a green leader or a green entrepreneur or even a green champion. It's very essential for you to learn all of these technical skills that we are providing you throughout this bootcamp. So as you can see, the science behind the wind energy is pretty much similar to the science behind the airplanes, okay? That there is a certain blade, or we call it in engineering an airfoil, that generates difference in pressure between below the blade and above the airfoil. By this difference in pressure, it helps elevating, in the case of the aeroplanes, it helps elevating the airplane. And in our case that we are speaking about the wind energy, it helps moving the rotor of the wind energy and thus creating electricity. Of course, there is several types of wind turbines. We have the horizontal axis wind turbine, which is the most famous one, and they call it Hout. But we also have H-rotor and Darius and Savanius. They are all different designs of the wind turbines. Some of them are also used or designed for lower nominal wind speed, okay? And to the right side of the screen, you can see how actually the electricity is being harvested. So once the rotors rotates, it rotates a shaft, okay, that in principle, it also rotates a gearbox that rotates a generator that generates electricity, okay? Some technologies doesn't include a gearbox. It's just the main shaft going directly into the electricity generator, and from that we can get our electricity. You can also see towards the bottom of the image that you have something called a yaw motor. A yaw motor defines in which direction the rotor is looking at. And this is very important because, for example, if I set up the wind turbine in a certain place and then the wind direction changes, me as a technical or a owner of the farm, I should have the opportunity to shift the whole setup to face the energy and get the best energy outcome out of it. So the yaw motor and the yaw tower is the area responsible about rotating the wind turbine towards the wind energy or the wind direction. The disadvantages, as we mentioned, is very high capital costs. A person cannot, some of you can afford installing a solar system on the rooftop, but it's very hard. Some entrepreneurs are working to develop wind turbines that is affordable for households, but in principle, it's for businesses and for also the public sector or the governments to install. Of course, another disadvantage of this is the end of life, the disposal. It's made out of very rigid type of polymers and fiberglasses that makes it impossible to retrieve any kind of material by the end of life of the turbines. There is also some innovations happening at the moment to bring in new different type of materials to enhance the end of life of the wind turbine. Again, functional units here, you have to take consideration into three important things: the nominal wind speed in your area, the bird migration, because it does affect heavily the wind energy, and the noise level. Of course, some technologies doesn't include or very minimal acceptable noise level, but some also wind turbines might produce a lot of noise that might not be suitable for animals or even humans. So our third type of energy that we have right now is the bioenergy. And as we can see, this is a bioreactor in one of the European countries. In the bioenergy, we have two different types of energy, a biofuel or a biogas. Okay. And of course, there is this third type, which is called biomass. They all do the same type of uh, energy generation from bio material. So of course the biofuel, and this is the most common one, it's the extraction of uh, um, car fuels or bus fuels, biofuels from the cooking oil. And this is actually one of the most easiest ways that I invite all of you also to study. It's a very feasible project. People collect the used cooking oils at a certain level of quality. They start processing it, and they turn it into a biodiesel, what they call. Of course, it still introduces emissions to the atmosphere if burnt. So this is also not a very good point, but still it's not a fossil fuel based source. Of course, the functional unit that you have to focus on here is the quality and the amount of the cooking oil that is present in your area, in your country, in your city, whatsoever. The other type that we have spoken about is the biogas reactor or the biogas fermentation process, and this is very famous in the farmers or the farming or the agriculture activity sides. It uses the animal manure and uses the bio mass available to create some sort of fermentation process that generates biogas and also generates a fertilizer, natural fertilizer. Biogas, of course, can be used for heating, for cooking, and the fertilizer could be re-entered again into the agriculture land. The process is called anaerobic digestion of organic waste. And it's a little bit hazardous because there is a lot of emissions taking place, carbon dioxide, methane, which is the largest amount. And there is a high risk of emissions leakages, but with good control, you can also manage this process. The functional unit here in our type is the type of waste, of course, because not all of organic waste can generate high quality biogas. Either it has to be animal manure, agriculture waste. You have to learn what is the right mix to be inserted inside this fermentation. And of course, the surrounding temperature. Sadly, at low temperatures, the bioreactor doesn't work well. However, in higher temperature, it does work very well. So this is brief about the bioenergy. And the last energy we have with us today is the hydro, which is very famous, very old. And of course, it's only present on fresh water. And there is also some new technologies in the hydro energy. So the conventional one that we all know is the hydro dams, which uses the potential energy that is between the high level water and the low level water, and turn this potential energy into a kinetic energy through some sort of turbines. And this kinetic energy could be transformed into electric energy. The functional unit here is the water flow and the height difference between the two different levels. Of course, you might have heard also about the wave energy, which is the energy harvested from the sea waves. It's still in the development. A lot of countries, of course, have made a lot of advancements in the wave energy, but still, a lot of R&D to enhance the efficiency is still needed. Okay, and this works by the movement of the floaters. Either it's linear floaters or they call it point absorbers, where it help generate kinetic energy, which is also in turn generate electricity. Okay. And the functional unit here, we have to talk about the tidal and the height of the waves and everything. Disadvantages of the hydro energy, especially, of course, the wave energy, it's a very high cost and sometimes very low energy output. Okay, but again, it's a very clean, renewable source of energy. By that, we have concluded the 4 types of energy that we have actually spoke about. There is a very interesting game. It's free. It's called Energy Manager game. I'll put the link in the chat. It's free, and actually it's a very good opportunity for everyone who want to learn how the energy management works and how the wind works versus solar works versus bio and so on. It's very interesting and it's free. You can download it and play it. I highly recommend for those people who are considering to enter the energy industry to download the game and start playing. The second topic of today is the circular economy, which is, from its name, we can identify that it's about reducing our waste, reusing our waste, and recycling. Some industries usually introduce recycling as a green aspect or as a sustainability aspect. Of course it is. It's better than landfilling. But what's more
Hello guys, is it just
very quickly, plastic recycling, aluminum can recycling, organic waste recycling, and glass recycling. The plastic recycling is a very famous, of course, and a lot of industries are built among the recycling of plastics. It's important to note that there are types who are, we can call recyclable or easy recyclable, and there are types of plastic that are not easily recyclable. And if you see, or if you brought a plastic bottle and just inspect it around, you will find that it has one of these numbers, and it indicates what. So, in my childhood, I thought that this number is how many times it was recycled, but this is not correct. The number is a code for identifying the material that this compartment is being made of. Either it's PET or HDPE or PVC, LDPE. LDPE and HDPE stands for high density polyethylene, low density polyethylene. Okay, PET stands for polyethylene tetrahydrate, and we have the polypropylene, and we have the polystyrene, PS, and we have also others. Okay, some of these materials are very hard to recycle, especially the PVC. So it's not also advisable as corporations or as governments to use these kind of plastics because they are not recyclable that much. In general, the recycling process is very different. However, it all contain the same, I would say, type of processes. So there is also, of course, inspection of the wasted materials, segregation, which could be recycled, which could not be recycling, removing any organic parts, removing any metallic parts, and then washing and chopping, okay, into more finer and smaller particles. Then drying has to take place from the washing process, and then there is a lot of processes that includes, of course, high energy consumption in terms of melting or even the filtration process until it becomes what they call it, pellets or granules that could be used again in the industry. Of course, we have to remember again that reducing and reusing is the most advisable part, but recycling is also something better than landfilling, I would say. So use less plastic and go for multi-use plastic types, and keep the plastic items separately from the organic, because this contamination actually affects the recycling rate of plastics. And one simple activity that once I learned that is helpful for recycling, I kept on doing it every time. Just squeeze your bottle or squeeze the compartment to make it less in volume. You cannot imagine the amount of energy you are saving by this very simple squeezing process. So please, whenever you are drinking a plastic compartment or a plastic product, just make sure to squeeze this at the end to save volume and enhance the recycling efficiency of plastics. The second type is the aluminum can recycling. It's very famous, very old, and also very efficient. 100% of aluminum is being recycled easily, and it's a very easy process. Actually, a lot of micro enterprises have introduced or used this recycling technique. Okay, of course, it includes some energy consumption. Again, this is very common in the recycling process, but still the retrieval amount, which is 100%, can sometimes also enhance the profitability of such product. And usually the process is, of course, cleaning the can from any residues, colors, and so on, and then crushing it into smaller pieces, and then melting it to its origin, as we have seen in the last video, and then forming it in whatever shape we want. Some factories do the the aluminum foil. Some others do blocks for industries. It can go to any industry, and it's very efficient. Again, two recommendations for aluminum recycling: just separate the can from other waste, and of course try to squeeze it as well without damaging yourself, because it's a little bit might be sharp or something like this. The organic waste, we have spoke about the bioenergy, okay, in the first part, which is renewable energy, and actually some of the biogas reactors might use organic waste. But here we are going to also highlight another type of treating this waste different than the biogas. Maybe, of course, you have heard about. It's the composting, or turning the waste into a fertilizer. It's a natural process that happens under certain conditions of high pressure and high temperature, which turns organic materials into very effective nutrients and fertilizers that could be reintroduced inside the soil again. As you can see, the composting process, you can find a lot of resources online on how to start your own composter at home. But of course, you have to add very rich materials like the peels of the fruits, some eggshells, and so on. The richer the composter is working, the richer the fertilizer will be when it is ready to be used in your backyard or in your garden or whatever. It has to be aired and I would say, how do you call it, turned a couple of times before it is ready to be used as a compost. And of course, it's also organic, which is something that we usually encourage as well. The last glass, again, it's very old type of green glass from the brown glass part, again, also into melting products. It's very efficient, but it's even much more higher in temperature because we need furnaces, we need very high temperatures. So it's not recommended. However, it's recommended to upcycle the glass compartments. If not, then it will go to a recycling facility, which is also better than landfilling and so on. So by now we have spoken about two topics: renewable energy and circular economy. The third topic that we have for today is agriculture. And we are going to discuss, of course, all of you know agriculture activities and you're very familiar about it. Maybe we can just discuss together three most advanced technologies that people use right now in agriculture. Permaculture, and this is actually the joining of two names, permanent agriculture, and then the soilless agriculture, farming without the usage of any soil, and the last one, which is called agrivoltaics. Actually, the permaculture is very interesting because it generally uses what we found out in the nature, in the woods, and start adapting that in our own houses or in our own ecosystems. By definition, it's the design. It's a new design for our human settlements to optimize the land use and imitate the same sustainable relationship that we found in the natural ecosystem. Why we want to do that? We want to offer a more resilient and self-sufficient environment for the plants and also for the insects maybe and so on. Usually in the farming activities, what you see that a certain farmer is facing a certain disease in the plants, and then directly he or she they uses pesticides and very harmful chemical substances. On the other side, permaculture offers us some nature-based solutions for this to fight insects, to fight parasites that maybe affect our crops and so on. There is 12 principles of permaculture. It's not necessary to adopt the full 12 principles, but at least it's a guiding reference for you if you wanted to start a very small permaculture in your community or in your company or in your house that you have to follow, okay? And of course, it depends on what you want to plant. You have to make some equilibrium between the high or tall plants and the shorter plants, bigger plants, smaller plants. It's very important for you to learn what type of plants you are introducing, and then also take into consideration the 12 principles that you see in front of you, which is pretty much similar: produce no waste, use and value renewable sources, obtain a yield, catch and store energy, observe interaction between insects, between the current environment that you have built, and of course also use water wisely and efficiently. The second topic, it's called soilless agriculture. It's also very interesting. You can start it in your own home, and you can start it in your also businesses. There's two types of soilless agriculture. There's something called the hydroponics and another type called the aquaponics. The hydroponics, it only uses water without any soil introduced to cultivate plants, certain type of plants. And given that plants need different type of water or different type of irrigation, usually there is different type of also hydroponic systems. There is the deep water culture, there is the drip system, there is aeroponics. There is different according to the type of plant. And of course, also you need to know what type of nutrients you need to introduce inside the compartment that you are using in the hydroponics. Contrary to that, the aquaponics, it introduces fish or sea creatures in general inside the compartment that you are storing your water. And it creates somehow a closed cycle where the plants benefit from the nutrients being secreted by the fish in the compartment. And on the other side, it also filters the water for the fish introduced over there to be introduced to fresh water and also fresh oxygen as well. It's a very nice ecosystem that usually introduced together, this aquaponic or the hydroponic, and you can decide also which one of them is more suitable for you. and you can also start something like this at home. The last thing, it's very brand new. It's a mix between the photovoltaics and the agriculture, and they call it agrivoltaics, where they wanted to utilize the solar energy in the agriculture activity, but also utilize the shade made by this PV panel in order to grow certain type of plants that are very sensitive to radiation. There is a lot of also benefits that comes also with the decreased temperature in the agriculture field, and also the increased or the decreased evaporation from this land. So it's one of the also emerging techniques that people are using right now, and it's worth exploring also if you want to work in the agriculture field. Our fourth, is it the fourth? It's the fourth and the one before the last one for today. It's the water management. And we are speaking about three different topics. The water desalination, of course, you have heard about it, the water purification, and the wastewater treatment. So, of course, the water desalination is desalinating the seawater, the salty water, into fresh water. Okay. This type of water treatment, it's very, very expensive and also very technically challenging. However, in some economies where water is very scarce, it's important that we value such green skill or green industry of desalinating the seawater. There is, of course, some collaterals happening at the moment, especially with the brine, which is the very salty solution coming out of the plant. But still, it offers a reliable source of fresh water to the citizens so far. As you can see, the water from the seawater enters the pretreatment unit, then it goes into a reverse osmosis process. They call it the RO. The abbreviation is reverse osmosis, where the salty the salty amount of water is being separated from fresh water and being dumped again into the sea. This is a very hazardous process, actually, dumping the brine again into the sea, because it affects the water salinity and maybe also affects the living creatures in the sea within a certain range. And some entrepreneurs and innovators right now are trying to introduce multiple usage for brine. However, this is still a threat. Of course, then there's another post-treatment, because also after the reverse osmosis process, there is the salinity within the water is not within the national or the international standards. So more post-treatment processes take place in order to get to the final shape of the fresh water that could be drinkable at some cases, and it could be used but not drinkable in some other cases. Of course, again, the cost is very high. The water purification, this is the very normal process that we all know, but this is also part of the green industry to purify and make the water suitable for using in general. It's a very conventional process where we get the water out of the fresh sources, either it's a lake or river, and then we do a couple of processes and filtering stages, and of course adding the fluoride or the chloride, whatever, to kill any disinfectants or to disinfect any basins that we have, sorry. And then we have the water treated in our side. A lot of entrepreneurs right now started to introduce some organic filters and some, I would say, home-based filters that could be affordable for households. And this is a very interesting topic to explore because a lot of people doesn't have access to clean water, and there is still a lot of opportunity to bring them clean water at affordable prices. So water purification is a very promising also industry that you can consider working in. So one last also topic to discuss in the water management, in the wastewater treatment. It's also very expensive. However, with also countries that have limited amount of water and they also want to have agriculture activities and so on, it's very essential to do the wastewater treatment. It's a very technical, sophisticated process. It includes, of course, receiving the raw sewage input and then doing a couple of processes from clarification or aeration that, of course, separates what they call the grill and start also processing the water again into sometimes drinkable and sometimes at least could be used for irrigation. In the aeration tank, they use also compressed air to help filter the water and separate solids from the liquid part itself. And this is very, very expensive. Using air compression or compressed air in a process is really very expensive. But a couple of also effluents are being introduced to treat the water further. And then we have fresh water could be discharged to be used into agriculture activities. And you may have seen, for example, Bill Gates, he did a very interesting project where he actually drank out of this wastewater treatment. So it's a very interesting fact also. Our last module that we have today, and I hope that I am on time, is the green infrastructure. It provides also a couple of opportunities for you to join as a startup or as a business or as a public sector as well. We're speaking about 3 different topics: electric mobility, air quality, and energy efficiency. Of course, we have all seen the advancement done in the electric cars, but electric cars alone is not the infrastructure needed for the transition. Still, we need to electrify buses, we need to electrify vehicles in general. Either it's scooters. There is a lot, of course, of a lot of scooters right now, a lot of bicycles that are running on electric energy. And it's much better to see also larger vehicles like buses, like trains, like also ships who can operate on electricity and renewable energy. So there is a lot of advancement in the battery storage, a lot of advancement in the fast chargers right now happening, smart charging as well, indicating what type of this car and what is the most efficient way to recharge it very quickly. And also, of course, the autonomous vehicles which serve us in different fields. Here, also in the 4th session of the Green Skills Bootcamp, in the future future skills for emerging industry, you will get to know a lot about the battery storage and the e-mobility, since it's also an emerging industry. But just wanted to highlight that this is one of the green aspects that people are working on right now. A lot of arguments happening on the electric cars, saying that, for example, electric cars is cutting down emissions, of course. And some other argue that what if this emission is being transferred to another place? So, for example, if I used fossil fuel to generate electricity and then I use this electricity to transport, I'm doing pretty much the same impact to the environment. I would say, from my personal point of view, that controlling emissions in a certain area, even if we are going to use the fossil fuel based, ideally we should be using renewables. To the right of the screen, you can see this is the ideal scenario, that we can use renewable energy to charge our cars. But even if we are introducing electric energy and we don't have enough capacity from renewables, we can still rely on fossil fuels until the energy transition is completed. And by that, we are still limiting the emissions to happen in a single place that could be controlled by industrial solutions and could be introduced by, controlled by filters, better than having a burning furnace inside each combustion car moving in the streets and polluting the air inside the cities. The second topic that we have today is, of course, the energy efficiency. And you usually see this sticker that not all of us consider it when we are buying a certain device or a certain equipment. It says A, B, C, D until it goes until F. And this indicates to you how this device is working or consuming energy at your house. And it's very important to consider actually these energy efficient equipment within your lifestyle and within your company and within everything that surrounds you. And there is some measures that you also can adapt in your environment within the energy efficiency. They are there, reducing the heating demand, of course, reduce the cooling demand. And this is could be by, of course, the consideration of the electric devices, choosing the right lighting, making sure your water tubes are insulated, there is no leakages, installation of a good heating system that is also energy efficient. Of course, the wall and floor insulation is very essential to prevent the heat losses either in the summer or in the winter. And some also consider doing some rooftop planting to decrease the impact from the heat waves in the summer and maybe also the cold waves in the winter by introducing some rooftop gardens and so on. So all of these measures help in reducing the energy used for the heating the water or actually heating the home itself, and of course reduce your energy requirement within the facility. And this could be applied in your house, in your company, in whatever, and of course will cut down costs significantly. Last thing we have for today is the air quality index, and you can go actually online and type, for example, your area, what is the air quality index? And you as a citizen and as a green champion, as we aspire for you to be after this course, you have to know what is the air quality index in your surroundings. And of course, if you went also to another area or another city or another country, the measures to enhance the air quality, of course, it has to be national levels. It has to be controlling for the vehicles, controlling over the industries, controlling over also the electricity generation and the power generation in general. But the public awareness is a key element in that perspective. If the public is aware about what would be the hazardous situation for the air quality levels, the different, as we can see here, green, yellow, orange, red, it's various. It's very interesting. Maybe you can write us in the chat, how do you find your air quality index in your city so far? That's a quick recap for what we had today. I hope it was insightful. It's just like a snapshot from each industry. Of course, you can dig deeper in whatever industry you are envisioning. Either it's renewable energy, circular economy, agriculture, water management, or green infrastructure. In the upcoming sessions, we will be introduced more into the digital skills for green industries, the leadership and engagement, community engagement skills. And the last one on the 23rd of September will be on the future skills so far. I would like to now use the time to have a very quick activity in the breakout rooms, which I will ask my colleagues to prepare the breakout rooms. You will be randomly in a room with 3 to 4 people, and the activity that your group has been hired by the mayor of a fast-growing city to design a sustainable neighborhood in 2035, so 10 years from now. You have 15 minutes to discuss together to create a one flagship solution that makes the city greener and more resilient, using your, of course, the aspects that we have discussed today. But I'm going to also show you the different themes that we are going to work on. So we will get you into the breakout sessions, the breakout room, speak together with each other. Okay, choose a theme that you would like to work on, and ask yourself, what is the main problem or the solution that I am tackling? What is the skills or technologies that is needed to make it happen? And how would it benefits or how it could benefit the citizens in 2035? These are the different themes. I will leave it there for a couple of minutes until the breakout room is ready, and then we will announce the breakout rooms for you again. Thank you so much, and see you after this activity. Thank you. So the rooms are now open, and you should have received an invitation to join the different room. So please head there, choose a certain theme from the one. You can screenshot it or take a photo by your mobile. Join the room, and we'll be getting back here after 15 minutes, and we'll let you know what to do after with the outcome that you have managed with your group. Thank you so much, and see you in 15 minutes.
Hello, everyone. So we are from room one. Can we share our discussions, whatever we have done?
I think the host has not yet come. Maybe we can wait for him for a moment.
I think that's correct. These people are still in the breakout rooms. We have to wait for a while for everybody to come so we can share.
Sure. So you say once again, what's your name?
Sorry?
What's your name?
Oh, Priya Bharti, India.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the breakout session. The breakout session was meant for you to, of course, get to know each other, speak together about a certain theme, and hopefully also draft something that you can share in the discussion also in the platform. We would love to see this, and we will be, of course, engaging with you in the discussion platform. So please feel free, whatever you drafted over the last 15 minutes, please feel free to post it in the discussion as well. So we also wanted to take this further with you. So we wanted also to hear from you back in the discussion. If you have any questions, of course, about today's workshop, or also about, currently the communities and cities in every region are racing towards more greener technologies and more sustainable infrastructure. So you can also share with us a green solution you believe that is valuable for your community or your city or your neighborhood. This could be a reel that you have seen, an article that you have read, a photo that inspired you, or a certain video that you find it valuable. So we will be looking forward to discussing with you over the platform about these opportunities that you will bring us, along, of course, with what you have discussed together in the breakout rooms. And then also let us know, what do you think? Which green skills would be needed to bring such innovation that you posted to reality from your side? So with that, we would like to thank you so much for your engagement. We had almost 180 attendees today, and very much looking forward to the upcoming also session. The next session will be on Tuesday, 9th of September, same time as of today, and it will be on leadership and growth and community engagement. And also make sure to attend, because there will be a very special guest speaker also with the expert here in the studio with us. So stay tuned for it. I would like now to head back to Youth for Capacity team. They wanted also to share some information with you about the bootcamp and moving forward. So over to you, the team, Youth for Capacity. The mic is over with you right now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Abdul Raham, and the entire YTG team. So we know certainly, of course, it's been a fantastic first session, and we know that you do have some questions. So just very briefly, we'll touch on what's coming up and just a few things, important information that you should know. I just want to make sure that my screen can be seen, if possible. Get a thumbs up that it can be seen.
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. Yeah. So as you can see, I know many of you would have been part of the earlier sessions, the one in May, the one in July, and now in September, we have in the Green Skills for Green Future Bootcamp led by YTG, and of course, our climate cafes led by FXB Global. So just very quickly, in terms of where we stand now, and then the key questions which come up. Yes, we will be sharing the presentations in the Bootcamp platform, which many of you would have already joined, but also I will share the link which you can join the Bootcamp platform on the Youth for Climate platform. So the presentations will be shared there, and the video recording would be made available at the end of the overall Bootcamp session. Certainly, I know the question on certificates has always come up. So yes, we will be tracking your attendance via the Zoom record. So it's also important that if you do join the Zoom via a link received from someone else, that you change the name to your own name to allow us to have that record, because we know we've had many queries on that. So it will be tracked, and your attendance will be based on your certificate, will be based on your attendance in all 4 sessions of the bootcamp. And also, if you have any queries, feel free to reach out to us via the Youth for Capacity email, which you can now see on screen. In terms of dates, just very quickly, of course, today we had the first session, and as Abdul Raham would have mentioned, we have 3 other workshop sessions. coming up, same day, same time. And then on September 25th, at the same time as well, we will have the Climate Cafe where you can get into smaller groups and really have a more sort of an in-depth discussion as well. So, and that's being led by FXP Global. And yes, like I mentioned at the start, the Bootcamp channel is where the conversations continue, the space for you to network, to connect with each other. I do see that there is a bit of sharing of expertise, sharing of knowledge and experiences in the chat. So you can continue that on the Bootcamp platform. And if you haven't joined, do share to join the platform. And I know the question always comes up in terms of the links for joining the session. So yes, the first link you would have received from the welcome email, it generates the joining links for every one of the sessions. So you do not need to look for another link or anything. So once you are accepted into this program and you receive the welcome email with the Zoom link, this will generate for all the sessions, including the Climate Cafe. So I shall stop here, and I think the only thing left for us to do is, if you can perhaps turn on your camera and we will all take a group photo together. You would receive a request to take a group photo. So if you can all, well, those who can, turn on your camera, that would be fantastic. And you would receive a request to take a group photo in a second. So you receive a request on screen. You can simply accept the request and we will have group photo. So should be maybe a few more seconds. I see most persons are being added to it. I'll leave it for a few more seconds. And what that's left for me to say is, once again, thank you all for joining, and let us continue the discussion, continue the collaboration on the Bootcamp channel within the Youth for Climate platform. So see you all next Tuesday. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so
See you
much.
next week.
Thank
See
you
you.
all. See you next week.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. See
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay. That was nice.
Thank you so much. Bye.